Well, hello, my dearios. This I think, will be my first public post about what exactly grave tending entails for me. The first thing I need to say is I was not appointed to this position, although there are some council meetings coming up where I'm likely to be put forward to have my expenses up to date, repaid rather. But so here's a good example of some of the problems in this very historic and should be much more beautiful and peaceful and safe English village churchyard. Now, the church itself, for those of you who are English, might know what it means, that it's a Grade 1 listed building, which is all well and good. The vicar, before I got to the village 2 months ago, the vicar retired, as I understand it. Well, he left anyway. We have a new vicar, and since she's been appointed, when I say new, I mean not just new here. From what I've been told, she has only been a vicar for just over a year. So she's very concerned about that I'm sticking to all of the rules, which I'm busily reading up and getting certified to do. But so anyway, I'm a pure organic gardener, meaning I won't do anything to harm insects or damage the soil, or use chemicals or pesticides or so on. So I'll talk about the actual problem and the crime actually going on right in front of you right here. First of all, I'll show you my tools. So that's a cordless strimmer I bought. So in America, I think you call these weed whackers. So it came with 2 of these large rechargeable batteries. So the idea is when one runs out, you've got the other one with you in your backpack or whatever, so you can carry on before you have to get back home. So another thing we should start talking about is what is a weed, because there's a lot of misconception now among the public that wildflowers are weeds, and actually that's quite the opposite. What we need in a churchyard like this, a historic site of natural beauty, I beg your pardon, what we need is much, much more biodiversity of wildflowers, traditional English wildflowers, not just for all the colour and scents and tradition, but because of the pollinator crisis. I mean, everybody knows the bees are dying out. If the bees die out, so does everything else, because there won't be much food left unless all this lab-grown meat thing works out very quickly. So anyway, there are some things though which are a hazard in terms of, a churchyard like this does need to do a formal risk assessment document every spring. So for example, you've got to make sure that the paths are safe enough for everybody in the parish, and that includes very elderly people who can't walk without support, small children, and of course in the village lots and lots of people have dogs. So here's an example of one where I've already started doing what I do. The thing I'll get back to in a second and really go into is the spear thistle, which is officially a weed, not just officially a weed, sorry. There is a 1951 Act of Parliament, a law, making it a crime to allow this plant to proliferate. So this has other names. I think possibly it's, I haven't done the full research. I can't tell you the Latin name or whatever. Anyway, this starts in year 1, as you see now, quite flat to the ground as a rosette, but it sends underground, sideways rhizomes, technically, to start creating more and more of it around. And then that grows exponentially unless something stops it. So in my first 2 months, I've put in at least 60 hours, I've donated at least 60 hours of work and about a few £100, so that every path round the church and into and out of it is now clear of that specific plant. And there's another one I've done at the same time just because it's very easy to pull straight up. So now I'll show you a real problem which I've now been specifically asked to clear up, and I have to be a little careful about my phrasing, so I'm going to have to use code names or something, or just call him the gentleman. So let me go back to where I started. Okay, so there is a local who's attends the church services and has done for many years, who is involved in a trust, a family trust, which pays for repairs to historic churches all over England, but I mean possibly even further, I don't know. Haven't got to know him well enough yet. Anyway, he's rather gloomy at the moment. Well, he was rather gloomy last time I saw him, about that he feels it's time to be popping off. So he's paid for his grave. That plain wooden cross with no name on it is his grave marker, and he has asked me to tidy it up so it's ready for him to use. Now, this is the not just horribly dangerous to children and dogs, but completely illegal. You are looking at a large crime here of neglect. The reason that these spear thistles are so bad here is that last winter there was a terrible storm, and that is one of the trees that came down. So everything around it was under the shade canopy. As soon as the tree fell down, the thistles immediately went whoopee and took over, And when I first noticed the problem just a few weeks ago, because bear in mind we're in spring, we're going between lots of rain and some very sunny and starting to get warm days, these were laying flat on the ground. I mean, I can't even see an immature one. Okay, there's a more immature one. They all look like this just a couple of weeks ago, and now look at them. This is the stage 1 rhizome. In year 2, they throw up a huge stem with a flower head, which is beautiful, kind of like an edible globe artichoke. But if at that point you need a very sturdy saw to cut the stem down, and if the flower's allowed to seed, the seeds are airborne, and it will then travel miles and make, again, exponentially more of this. And if either underground, let's say, look here, if either one of these goes sideways and comes up on the other side of that boundary fence which somebody else owns, that is a crime that who would it be? I suppose the vicar could be prosecuted for. So I'm doing her a favour by taking care of this organically myself, and that is why I started the YouTube project and called it Grave Tender, which is not an official title and carries no benefits or authority. So I'll tell you very briefly what I'm going to do, because I've been told by the person who owns this grave plot he wants it cleared up. That's what I'm here to do now. The only thing I'm going to use is scissors, secateurs, very strong leather gloves. These are designed for handling rose thorns and blackberry thorns, and a few spots of distilled vinegar. What I'm going to do is, this video is getting too long, what I'm going to do is, first of all, cut off all of the arms, cut across through the central core that goes down to the root, and put a few drops of vinegar right on the spot. By tomorrow or the next day, it will be brown and dying, and by next week there will be no trace that it was here, and nothing around it will be harmed. At the same time, I will be adding new compost, which I also paid for, and 20 or 25 varieties of wildflower traditional English native seeds. So I'm afraid even with all that, the underground root system of this plant is so tenacious, it is such a cochon, excuse my French, that all of what I'm doing will not actually kill it. What it will do is remove the threat for a while, and as I continue to patrol, when I see them starting to come back up, I will give them another spanking. So now what I'm going to do is switch to a time-lapse, because it's going to take me a couple of hours probably to clear just this small area. Oh, there's also all the stinging nettles, which are fine, except not near the paths, because again they will harm children and dogs. but it's good to have some around at the back of the churchyard for the ladybirds and butterflies who love them. Anyway, all right, talk to you later.